Hey, hello everybody. Those who are here, thank you for coming on. I saw a few people who had already come on. My name is Seraphine. If I haven't met you, it's wonderful to meet you. And for those of us who are here, if you are subscribed to the channel, you will be able to send comments. If you haven't subscribed, you will not be able to send comments. So you want to do that. I'm not charging you for this conversation. All I ask is that you subscribe. I haven't been on YouTube for a bit now, but this was the easiest way to get this done. So I'm just going to take a moment here to see if there's any comment at all, something that I need to take care of before we move forward. It's 9 a.m. here, so I'm going to say good morning to those of you who are on this part of the world. Good evening to you who are in Kenya. It's mostly people in Canada, in America, and in Kenya who reached out to me on this. So I will take about an hour, maybe 60, maybe 45, maybe an hour, 25 minutes to have this conversation. And I hope that within this period, I will have had a conversation about what I did, answer a few questions. I see that Brenda Wakaba is already online looking to help us with this. So I just woke up. If I look weird, just bear with me. It's a weekend, okay? All right. So I sent this post. I sent this post on LinkedIn, and that's the reason this conversation came up. I sent this post on LinkedIn on how I was going through a difficult time with my business, and then I had to move just to secure the kids. I didn't explain all that on the post, but I mean, we're here so we can have a conversation and go into greater detail. Now, okay, I see some people online. Let's see. I'm going to stop from time to time to look at exactly what's on the chat. Brenda Walker will also help me with some of the comments, managing us, so I can answer as many comments as I can. But I'm going to get right into it. Now, way back in 2016, in July, we took the kids to Florida. And around about that time, we're looking to buy a place. It wasn't working out very well because the place we wanted to buy, at that time I was still married, were very expensive. Looking at the plans we had for ourselves and for the kids, it just wasn't looking like it was going to work out. Business was okay, but there were a few problems. And the problems with my business were both macro factor problems, meaning that there are problems that I couldn't solve on a personal level. They were about the economy, about the state of our nation in Kenya. They were about larger issues that had nothing to do with me, corruption and tribalism being a big part of it. Don't get me wrong, I love my country. I've always lived there. However, there are situations that make it very difficult to become successful. A lot of us have become successful in Kenya. It's a wonderful place to be, but it can be a really difficult place to operate in, especially depending on which part of the country you come from. And this is not to demonize anybody, no matter where you come from. That's not what I'm saying. But you all know what the situation in our country is. So it was time to look for other options. And when we traveled to Orlando with the kids during their summer holiday, they were in an American school in Kenya. I started to look at the possibilities of life there and comparing real estate, comparing the school system, comparing everything. I found that what I had found in Kenya in terms of building costs, the time it took to put something together, was a lot more expensive than it really needed to be. And that's when a light bulb struck. But when we got back from that trip, things became considerably worse for the business. And again, it was because of issues within the business, meaning myself and my partner, but at the same time, external issues. Right. More of the issues that were within the business that I really don't want to go into on this video. I can talk about it in a different video for those of us who work with their spouses, for those of us who work with family members in businesses. You might want to watch out for that when I feel safe enough or comfortable enough to start that conversation. But so that's when I started to plan. Initially, the plan was to move to the US. I was to move to Austin, Texas. But then at that time, the elections in the US were hotting up, and between Trump and Hillary, nobody thought Trump could win. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and make these plans for the US. So back again in December of 2016, again, I went back to the US. I took a trip to Texas. I took a trip to Dallas, where I have friends, Houston, where I have friends, and Austin, where I really wanted to live. But I don't have anybody there, you know. And if you're thinking, I want to go to a place where there are people and you're watching this, please don't do that. You can live anywhere. So long as there are other people, whether you know them or not, living there, you can also live there. So don't look at places where necessarily you have people, although that helps. So, well, I went to Texas in December of 2016. I looked around, I found schools, I did everything, I did all the groundwork. I plan very meticulously. And that's one of the things you want to do. If you have a pen and paper right now, as you're sitting, I see there are people on the call with me. Thank you for joining. You want to plan very, very meticulously. If you can hear me, please send me a note and let me know you can hear me. Otherwise, I don't want to be rambling on to myself. Just send me a note. If you are already subscribed, please put a comment there and let me know that you can hear me and everything's clear. Otherwise, I may just have to start up. Okay, I'm watching my comments as much as I can. And Brenda, I'm sure you're somewhere there. If there's something that you notice, please let me know and I'll fix it right away. Okay. All right. So I started to plan in 2016 in December when the former President Trump got in, and I had two boys. And I'm thinking they're approaching teenage. They don't know how to maneuver the U.S. police who were using African children and men as target practice. And it just became a non-option. So then the next choices became Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And the reason for those, if you've done even a little bit of homework about relocation, is because they have very clear pathways for immigrants to get assimilated into the system. So again, I'm going to say that New Zealand, Australia, and Canada have very, very clear pathways for those who want to move there. You know exactly what's going to happen. Most of the time when people move to the US, it's and Europe, it's about going using creative means and being in an interesting situation before you actually get situated with your paperwork. All right. So you were under the radar and that kind of thing. You could do that. But when you have kids going to school, it's kind of hard to be under the radar. I know people have done it. I know people who live under the radar even today. Hey, thanks. Thank you so much. Margaret is here. Jonathan is here. Belinda is here. Thank you for coming. All right. So great. I know that you can hear me. So you don't want to live under the radar with kids, you know. It's kind of hard to do that, especially if they have to be registered in a school and all that. You really can't live under the radar. You can live under the radar with people if they are the ones responsible for the bills and everything, and you find your way underground, okay, until you can come above water and be recognized. But when you have kids, you do have to be the one registering those kids in school, registering for healthcare and all. It's quite hard to live under the radar. So that was an option for me. And the US takes a bit more time for that. It could have worked out because, you know, you register to a school, you register them as kids, international kids studying there, and as a mother, you get to stay, and then you work your way from there. But with Trump getting in, that wasn't an option. Now, between New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, Canada became the option because the father of my kids has family here, has step siblings here, and then it just seemed to be a place where, you know, you can have some help if you needed something, you know, with the system, with paperwork, and it really did help eventually. So anyway, we started the application process, and the application process, I'm going to tell you straight out, it's long. Okay, if you don't like paperwork, this is going to be very frustrating for you because it is about paperwork, and more paperwork. All right. And you may have very many different reasons. If you have a moment, just let me know in the chat, why is it that you want to relocate? Yes, one of the main reasons is that things don't work out for you well in Kenya. You lose your job. You don't see how the future looks and that kind of thing. Let me know some of the reasons, because people move from their countries. I've lived in Kenya all my life. Okay. That's where I know how to be. I've traveled all over the world, but I've never lived abroad. Okay. The longest I've been abroad is maybe 3 weeks. Okay. And those were trips, business trips and holidays. So it's not the same as living there. You don't get the real experience of living abroad until you really live there. Okay. Even if you're widely traveled, it's a very different experience. And I'm going to go into that in this conversation. So if you have a moment, just let me know why it is that you want to travel. Why is it that you want to leave Kenya? Because that could also help me help me structure this conversation to suit you better. So we decided to then start doing the paperwork. And the paperwork is long. So for Canada, there's what is called the express entry. And I did invite some people who are already here to join me on the call, because they could help by chiming in onto their own experiences, because the pathway that I use is different from what other people use. And I'm going to try and touch on each of those. But those who are already here can help me also answer some of the questions. And I hope they will make a moment to come here. It's still early in some parts of Canada and it's a bit later. So hopefully they will join at some point. Okay. So there's a website, and every time you look at any website in Canada, what I'll tell you is that everything in Canada works exactly as it's written. Okay, you go on a website, you go onto the government website, immigration, okay, Canada.ca. Go onto .ca. There are so many lawyers who are helping people migrate to Canada. And we did use one of them. We use Cohen something. I'm going to find the website link and put it in the description later. But we did find a lawyer, and we completed a lot of forms. So one of the things you have to do to move here, whether you're using the express entry is a pathway for workers, for immigrant workers coming to work here, whether you come into work as a tradesperson or as a professional. Now, a tradesperson those are the people who repair things, the plumbing, mechanics, and those kinds of jobs, very, very specialized. And then there's professionals, those who are qualified in marketing, banking, they're engineers, they're doctors, and all those, all right? So those are two different pathways, because for tradespeople, what happens is that sometimes a specific province requires so many tradespeople in plumbing, for example, and then they will put out a special request. What they call them is provincial nominations. Okay, so Canada has various provinces, and each province has different needs of workers. All right, and each of those provinces, depending on their needs, at any given time, will put out a provincial nomination program specifically targeting people who are specialized in certain trades. Okay, so if you're a plumber and say British Columbia is looking for plumbers at a certain point in time, you'll find that they put out a provincial nomination. Again, let me repeat this. I am not an immigration consultant. Okay, I don't help people move to Canada, and I don't charge people to move to Canada. So just be aware of that. Take this as a person sharing their experience, and you can use some of this information to do your own research before you make a decision. All right. So I'm not an immigration consultant. I did a lot of research on my journey. And as you do your research, you'll find that you need somebody else to check, hey, Seraphine, what about this? What about that? What do I do? What do I do about this? Then you can ask me those questions. And as I was chatting with Brenda on this, about how to manage this, because I don't have a schedule that I can dedicate to this at this point in time, she said we can talk about this in a series. So I will not be able to answer all questions today. I hope I will answer as many as possible. But those that I don't manage to answer, we can do another call. And I'll put out a note like I did today. If you subscribe and let us have your email address, we can always keep in touch with you and let you know when the next one is. Send in your questions, and then the next one I can answer specific questions. Okay, I'll just touch on this and then answer specific questions so we can move forward without me having to spend too much time on this. So as I was saying, different provinces will put out specific provincial nomination programs for the people they're looking for. for the specialists that they're looking for, whether they're tradespeople or professionals. Sometimes, I mean, Canada has a shortage of doctors, and what happens is that certain provinces also put out provincial nominations for doctors. Those ones get snapped up really, really quick if you're qualified. However, just know that whatever your qualification, if you're in a field that requires licenses like doctors, engineers, you do need to come in and you do need to take on other programs. So one thing you have to understand is that when you live outside of Canada, when you come here, you may be required to take other courses. So you want to factor that into your costs. I'm going to say this. Moving to Canada is an expensive process. If you're not ready to spend money, it's not going to happen very easily, especially if you have kids. If you're on your own, you could work it out. I mean, you can survive, you can find your ways, okay? But it's something you have to invest in. It's an investment you make, and I'm going to tell you why it's worth it during this conversation. Now, you also have to be humble enough to understand that you're going to start at a place where nobody cares about the degrees that you already have. Nobody cares about the experience that you already have somewhere else. It does count, but it doesn't really count. It's like starting from scratch, and it can be really disheartening. But it does work out. Please trust me, it does work out. Okay? I'm not here encouraging people to move from our country. I'm not. You will come here and you'll find that the connection is unstable. I'm told my connection is unstable. Can you hear me? Wait while we try reconnect. Can you still hear me? Please, somebody send me a note. Please let me know if you can hear me. I'm as close as possible to the router in my room. It should be fine. Please let me know if you can hear me still and you can see me and everything is clear. Can you hear me? Let's see. Brenda, are you on? Okay, Brenda is typing something for me. Oh, it's their connection. Okay, fantastic. I'll keep going. So please be humble enough to follow the process. All right. You're going to be tested in ways that are very frustrating. Let's see what's Brenda saying. You're loud and clear. Ask them to check the connection. Okay, guys, check your connection, please. It's your connection. I'm told I'm coming through clearly. Thank you, Brenda. All right. So you want to be humble enough to understand that because nobody knows you here, you're going to face some hurdles. Somebody's going to be checking your documentation, but these are things you can sort out and you're required to sort out before you come here. Oh, great. Thank you, Erin, for confirming that. All right. So there are services that help check your credentials before you're able to apply. So as I said, you have the express entry, okay, which is for professionals and tradespeople. And then you have provincial nomination, which we also attempted, and then we have the student pathway, okay, and then there's a family sponsorship. There may be more right now. I haven't been on this for a while now, but all these are available. Okay, I'm going to send you links so you go to the government website. Again, I'm going to repeat that government website. Don't go to the lawyers first. I'm going to send you one lawyer that you can look at. However, those will come at a cost as well. Anybody who's going to help you, who is a professional at this, is going to come at a cost. There are immigration consultants who can be very, very good. I know a few of them. I've spoken to some of them since people started to ask me more about this. And what I can do is invite them to a call the next time. What we might do with that is do a Zoom call so I can stream onto YouTube. But when we do a Zoom call, then it's easier to invite somebody and then we can have a more robust conversation with people who actually help people move here. Okay. Now, so each of those pathways, the express entry, the student pathway, the provincial nomination, have very clear ways. All those are articulated on the government website and exactly what they require you to do. First and foremost, if you don't have a degree, like I didn't have a degree, you're going to have your high school information verified to make sure that the level of high school education that we have in our country is comparable to what there is here in Canada. So that if you're coming and you don't expect to further your studies, they can take it that your level of education in high school is good enough. Okay, that alone I know doesn't feel right, but look, you're coming to somebody else's country, it's their rules. Just adjust yourself to that and make peace with it. All right, eventually it gets better. So there are various companies, there are international companies that help accredit your credential. All right, so there's several of them. I used WES, and be clear, I used WES. WES is WES. Please use WES, because they do it in the shortest possible time. All right. I use somebody else paid the $200 only to be told that it's going to take 8 weeks. I didn't have 8 weeks to wait for one thing because other things don't wait. All right. So there's that. And first and foremost, you don't have your certificate. You have to go back to Kenya National Examination Council and make several trips there. And for you to send your certificates to WES, you have to send your certificate to WES, your Form 4 living certificates to WES. But at the same time, the Kenya National Examinations Council has to do it directly, which means you have to go to Kenya National Examinations Council and have them send it to WES, because WES does not trust you to send them a real transcript of what you got in your Form 4 results. So you have to get our Kenya National Examinations Council to send your credentials directly to WES, and you have to pay for that. So you have to use DHL or FedEx or whatever it is that the Kenya National Examination Council is going to use for them to send it directly. They will not give it to you, and WES will take yours, but they will also want something from the Kenya National Examination Council so that they can compare and then do their research and then send you back that certification, that qualification that they have actually accredited your results on an email. You also need to let them know that they can send one directly to Immigration Canada, because by the time you're applying, you go on the government website, you create an account, and that account is valid for 3 months. So you don't want to start that account before you have a lot of this documentation. Now, you're probably starting to understand why timing is very important. You don't start your account on the government website until you have all this groundwork and legwork done, so that you don't run out of time, because various things take different amounts of time, and you want to make sure that each of those are going to come in ready for you to apply on time. Okay, within the 90 days that you're allowed. It was 90 days at the time. At that time, I don't know if it's increased right now. Now, you also have to have, if you have language qualifications, if you have French, if you have German, whatever else you have, those also have to be verified by the examining bodies. I don't know about other languages, but I was taking French. So French has to be verified by Alliance Française. Okay, and then they have a test called the Test d'Évaluation Française that is examined in France. So you take the exam in Kenya at Alliance Française, and you sit it, and then it takes about 2-3 days for France to come back to you, whether you've passed or not. If you haven't, you have to repeat it. That's also some money there. Okay, that test costs about 30,000, I think, or 40,000, I don't remember. But the reason you want to do this is because it gives you more points. So immigration to Canada is in a point system. Okay, it's very clear. It's not trial and error. It's not your luck on a green card. It's very, very clear. That's why it makes it easier for you. I know I'm talking about a lot of money here, but it makes it easier for you. And you got to plan and you got to invest in it. Okay. If you have kids, it makes sense for your children because it's about their future, not so much yours. Yes, you'll find your ground, you'll find your level. It will take a longer time, especially if you're already established in Kenya. But really, this is for your children. Okay. If you're young, if you're under 30 years old, then it is for you as well. If you're over 40, it becomes harder because it's harder for you to integrate. You're used to your own ways of doing things. You're established already. It just becomes a lot more frustrating. Okay. So you have your qualifications. If you already have a degree, you have to have your university also send your degree to WES to qualify you. WES costs about $190, $180. I don't remember. Okay, but it's on their website. Everything is very clear. Again, I will put the links on here. Now, once those are done, and WES takes 4 weeks. Once those are done, you're collecting that. If you have language qualifications, those are done, you're collecting that. All right. Then you have to do a police report. You are required to do a police report. So make sure you get your fingerprints done, and that could take some time, depending on the situation with our system is. But you know, I have a contact. If you have trouble, I can share that contact with somebody to help you there. Your passport obviously has to be more than 6 months ahead, valid for more than 6 months ahead. If you don't have a passport, please apply for one and get that sorted out. So there's your qualification, academic qualifications, and there's your language qualifications, and even English. I know you speak English. I know you have spoken English for a long time. That's the language of instruction in a country. Trust me, countries abroad don't think so. So they want you to qualify for that. You do have to sit an exam to prepare. and you need to prepare for that. It does take quite a bit. Taking that exam is not like speaking regular English. You do have to practice for it. Even if your English is great, you do have to practice for it. And there are practice tests on it. It's called the IELTS test. IELTS is offered by the British Council. Again, I'll post the links later on. It's offered by the British Council. So IELTS, and you can Google that as well. That costs about 16,000, maybe 17,000, and it takes about 11 or 12 days for you to get the results. So they test you in different areas: spoken, written, comprehension, and writing. Okay, and by this time I was already writing for the Business Daily for a long time. I worked as a secretary, I worked as a marketer. So I would say my English was pretty good, but no, it wasn't. I had to practice. When I did the first practice test, when you subscribe for this and you make your payment, they send you some practice tests before the date of your test. Again, those dates of the tests in our country are, I think, 3 or 4 times a year, maybe more now if they've increased it. So you have to time that. Those tests are only available to us about 3 or 4 times a year in specific places in the country, mostly in Nairobi. So you have to plan that. Go on the website, check when the next test is, make sure that you have your payment in, start practicing, and be ready for that test. So there are very many pieces to this process, all right? You need, depending on the level of job you're coming to do in Canada or you're hoping to do in Canada, there are different requirements of that English test. So that with that English test, there's no pass or fail. It's about the grade, and the grades are from 1 to 10. So the higher you score, the better for you, especially if you're at a director level. You want to score 8 and above, okay? Most people will score about 5, 6. That is considered average. So there's no fail exactly. Now, if you score below that, it hurts your point on the express entry if you're coming as a worker. It hurts your points because then you're given lower. And this is all very clear on the government website. Each number of points has a specific number of each number of points you earn on your English test has a specific number of points you have towards your express entry. And that express entry, you need 430 points and above. So if you're young, you have more points. If you have a good score on that English test, you have more points. If you have a degree, you have more points. If you have 2 degrees, you have more points. If you have a master's degree, you have more points. If you have a doctorate, you have more points. If you have a spouse who has qualifications, you have more points. Okay, if you have an extra language, you have more points. Especially if you have French, you have more points. And again, French is also not about being such an expert. It's also on a point level. So the higher you score, if you're at that level 1, 2, 3, and 4, those have different points on the system. So, and all this is very clear on the government website. Now, even if you're not going to use a lawyer to relocate, I'd suggest that you go to this lawyer's website. It's called Cohen something. I'm going to post the link as well. You can take a test there to see where you fall in terms of how many points you would get and what you need to do to increase your points and, of course, increase your chances of getting in as an express entry person. Now, if you have family in Canada, that really does help as well. Now, family means father, mother, brother, or sister. Cousins, aunties, all those are not considered family. I'm sorry about that. All those are not considered family, all right? So father, mother, brother, sister, because you share that initial family bond, they can help. And even if it's a stepbrother or stepsister, those ones can help you as well. If you have an adopted sister, maybe they can be an exception, but not usually, okay? It needs to be blood, all right? So what I did is start with express entry. And a lawyer, an average lawyer is going to charge you $2,000, $2,000 US dollars. Some of them will charge you 50% of that upfront. Some of them will charge you another 50% after 30 days, whether or not they've already applied, because it depends on how you can get your documents here quickly. Okay, so they have a portal. What happens is you submit all your documents on that portal. They come back to you and let you know what's going on. Okay, Brenda is posting something here. Yeah, Canada Visa. No, CanadaVisa.com. That's not the no. Cohen Immigration Law Firm. Yes, that's Cohen Immigration Law Firm. They have a test that you can take on that test and see where you rate on the points that you would get on the express entry. Okay, but the easiest way, people, So the reason we didn't get onto the express entry, even though we paid a lawyer to help with that, what happened is that we didn't make the points. I didn't have a degree. My ex-husband had one degree. My French was not yet at the level that they required at the time. So I decided to go back to Alliance Française for a year. I did about 9 months at Alliance Française. I went there every day from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, every single weekday. Okay. I'd be there polishing my French. So I studied French in high school, but I never used it for 25 years. So obviously, it's rusty. French is like riding a bike. Any language is like riding a bike. You don't use it, you lose it. It's not like riding a bike. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I'd lost a lot of it. I went and did a test. I was starting from not too low a level, so I had to study again. That's also money. Okay. Now, so at this time, the express entry process was going on, but at the same time, what was happening is that it was taking long, and we didn't know how long it would take. And when you're dealing with family, sometimes you really can't push. Okay, we didn't make the express entry, so now we're looking for the provincial nomination, which is sponsored by a family member. Again, father, mother, brother, or sister, and even if they're step brothers and sisters, those can help too. Okay, so it was taking long, and pushing those, or my spouse at that time didn't feel that he wanted to push his relatives. And I thought, this is going to take time. I have to secure my kids, you know. And so what I did is apply to come in as a student because I don't have a degree. So it would be good for me to come as a student. Now, the deal that Canada has for students is very unique. Actually, not many countries have this. I don't know other countries who have this. Even Australia and New Zealand that I talked about earlier don't have this. So with Canada, if you come as a student, even if you're coming for a course that is just 2 years, okay, say a diploma course, what happens is you come and then your family can come and they will have, you will also have 2 years after that to work on an open work permit. While you study, if you have a spouse, that spouse can work here on an open work permit during those 2 years when you're studying. And then after those 2 years, when you finish your studies, you get another 2 years to help you decide whether you want to work here or live here. What happens is that Canada makes it a little difficult to get in, but once you get in, they don't want you to leave. I'm telling you, if you come as a degree student, what happens is that by the 3rd year of your degree, the government sends salespeople to school. Government sends salespeople to school to sell Canada to you. Okay, what they do is come. They know that international students are about to finish their degree program. They come and try to convince you to stay. They literally sell Canada to you. They're telling you what's beautiful about Canada, whichever province you are in, how it is that you can apply, what they would do to support you, what your life would be here, what the benefits are, what the benefits would be for your children, because they need workers. That's the truth. So we're suffering in Kenya. We don't have jobs. Business can be hard, but there are places that require all of us. Okay. Again, I'm not promoting relocation. People move for different reasons. If your situation is such that you would benefit and your family would benefit from relocating, please, please, please look at the possibilities. Okay, don't suffer in a place where you're struggling when you could be more successful somewhere else. So they actually come to school to sell Canada to you. Now, when you finish, they give you another 4 years if you did a 4-year degree program, or they give you 2 years if you did a diploma program to work here on an open work permit. And hopefully you like it and you don't leave. Once they've trained you in their education system, they don't want you to leave. Okay? And they make it easier for you to move in and become a permanent resident. All right. So coming in as a student, it's hard because as a student, you're only allowed 20 hours a week to work because you're supposed to be a student, right? You're supposed to be paying attention to your studies. So when you're a student, if you're not doing well on your studies, of course, you go on academic probation and you could get expelled, which means your visa is null and void. And you don't want to be under the radar here. It just makes it that much harder. And what happens when you live under the radar is that you don't get the benefits of living here as a bona fide resident of the country. There's so many benefits that I'm going to talk about that you don't want to miss out on if you're living under the radar. So if you have a spouse, one of you comes as a student, what happens is that the other party gets a work permit, an open work permit to work anywhere during the duration of your studies. It means that you have to collaborate with your spouse. Canada is not the place where you're going to come and start hiding your salary from your spouse. It doesn't work like that. Here, if you've been hiding your salary from your spouse, here you're not going to do those things, because when you file taxes, it's very open. You have to open up your salary slip to the other party. They also have to open up theirs. You file your taxes. You can file your taxes separately if you want, which is what I did. If you know what you're doing with your life, you file your taxes separately, but you still have to share, especially if you live together, you still have to share what your basic salary is. You still have to share that, because there's some benefits to filing together. But if you know which pathway you're going to do it separately. So you just separate, issues from the start. All right. But if you're coming to have your spouse support you financially because you're studying and the kids are also going to school, if you're here as a student, you have kids, the kids go to school on the usual system that other Canadian kids go to school on. Let me just put that out there. So thinking about tuition, you're not going to have to think about tuition, paying tuition fees, school fees and all that. You don't have to. Okay, kids can go into the public system if you don't mind that. If you want to go to private school, then you do to. Sorry, somebody's calling me. I'm just going to have to decline the call. I'm going to call them back later. All right. So here, the kids go to school. If you're a student, the kids get plugged into the system, and that process is fairly straightforward, because what happens is that kids are. I'm going to text them later. Kids are on the system. It's illegal here to have kids at home. In Kenya, yes, it's mandatory for kids to go to school. I don't remember if it's legal, but here it's illegal to keep kids at home. Any child, even if you're under the radar, if your child is here, the child has to go to school. You could be arrested for keeping a child at home. So they have a very clear way of incorporating kids. Kids go to a center, they're evaluated for language especially. And even if they speak English, they are evaluated. My kids only speak English. Okay, we didn't have a chance. My ex-husband is from Uganda. I'm from Kenya. Just language became an issue, so they just speak English. But they still are going to be evaluated. And if their English is not at par, what's going to happen is they can be put on a program to help them bring their English at par. So they will go to school, they will be accepted in school, but they will have a different program that helps them bring their English up to par. I have to say that North American English is different from ours in many ways. To me, it's broken, which is something I always had a problem with. It's different from ours because we speak British English, they speak North American English, which is not correct in many ways for us. Okay, but if you're moving here, I tell my kids, just get with the program, be understood. They speak this way, speak that way, so that people understand you. Otherwise, you're going to have to repeat yourself over and over again. There's also the accent thing. If they say water, say water. You can insist on saying water. If people are going to be asking, what did you say 20 times for you to communicate, you're going to have a difficult time. They say water, just say water. Okay? Move on. Get understood, communicate, keep going. All right? So the kids will be assimilated very, very quickly. Here, what they do is they use age appropriateness. So if your child is younger, they will probably take them back down unless you really, really insist and you have to fight for that. Like my first younger, he had finished 9th grade in Kenya. So here, he, as I said, was born in an American school in Kenya. So getting here, the system is more or less the same. He was supposed to go to 10th grade, but I said, no, he's very young. He needs to be in 9th grade. My child was in tears. He said, Mommy, I cannot go back to 9th grade. So we put in a case. We had the school write a letter, and then he was accepted into the 10th grade that he was supposed to go to. But just be aware that our system of education is very, very strong. It's very good. I'll tell you that. Our system of education, even the 844 system, whichever system you are in, our system is very, very strong. We teach our kids to be very good workers. They have a very good work ethic. We demand a lot of them in Kenya. There's a lot of homework. The teachers are very firm. So when our kids come here, they excel. You know why? Because they're already used to working hard. Here, things are a lot more relaxed. If you've been in Kenya with kids, you're going to be disappointed with the education system. I know I am, and a lot of parents are, because I've shared widely about this. The education system is a little bit more lax. In the bigger cities, I know that I posted a picture of me in New Brunswick. I have since moved to Ontario, the system is different here. And my kids, one of them who's going into 12th grade now, which is like Form 4, is telling me that the education level is a lot higher, especially in subjects like math. It's different. So each province here can decide what education system and can decide what syllabus they put the kids in. Be aware of that. So in other provinces, it can be a bit lax. The province where we are now, Ontario. Ontario is the province that has the government capital. It also has, which is Ottawa. I'm in Ottawa right now. And then there's Toronto. They say you say Toronto. Here, Toronto. Just as I said, just speak as they speak. Keep going. Don't think about, oh, people are going to say I have an accent and all that nonsense. Bullshit. Just keep going. Do what needs to be done. Excuse my French. So this is like the financial capital and is also the government capital. So I guess things are a lot more, strict. So the system here is a lot, I don't want to say better. I want to say more strict, okay, to be correct to those who are living in other provinces. But my child told me that the math here is a lot different and he has to study a lot more. And this is a child who is very good in math, very, very good in math. So it just says something to you. And I didn't think about it. I didn't know about that. So I called the school and find out what's going on. They said, actually, each province decides what different system they use for their schooling. They set their own syllabuses. So it's different in each province. Okay. And I found that strange because in Kenya, it's the same syllabus for all kids. Anyway, so I came in as a student. We didn't make the express entry. We didn't have enough points and we were older. When you're over 40, you lose a lot of points. Then we applied for the provincial nomination because my ex-husband's family is in New Brunswick. That's how we ended up going to New Brunswick. It's not a place I would have decided to go to. It's New Brunswick, if I compare to Kenya, is like Nakuru. It's a good place to be in. I mean, you'll find all the services you want there. There are banks, there are restaurants, there are places to go. It's a town, but it's not Nairobi, right? So it's also smaller. Everybody knows everybody. So as a foreigner, you stand out. There are few Africans, there are few Asians, there are few Hispanics. That just means that you don't find your food as much as you would like to. You can look for ugali flour for days. It arrives and then it's not there and it's available in only certain shops. The main shops only carry North American food, okay? There's a lot of meat, there's a lot of chicken. You're going to struggle with that as well. For somebody like me who grew up in the village, grew up on vegetables, vegetables are very expensive. And I mean real vegetables. I'm not talking about cauliflower, carrots, and cabbage. No, that's not vegetable. Green vegetables. It's quite hard, all right? And it's expensive. So then there's a lot of meat. Then you put on weight, yeah. So there are various challenges, and I can answer those in a different live. Now, I came on a student visa because the provincial nomination program was taking long, okay? And I was getting impatient. I'm very, very impatient with things. If I want something, I want it now. So I applied for the student visa. Please be aware that when you apply for a student visa, you could be rejected. Most people are rejected. Don't lose heart. Apply again, okay? I was first rejected. I used the online system, all right? Do not use the online system because the online system only requires you to put in one passport. If you've traveled to other countries, you want to show that you've been to other countries as well, so that they see that you have the habit of going to other countries and coming back, all right? So when they see that, sometimes it helps the decision, right? That you're not going to stay there or overstay your welcome, right? While in Kenya, they still look at how long you want to stay. And they make it very strict. But once you're here, they try to convince you to stay on. It's a paradox. I still don't understand how that works. I guess once you're here, all systems go and you're part of this country, you're a resident, and then all the human rights apply to you as well. So all that strictness that you face in Kenya, all those obstacles that you face in Kenya, you don't face them here. The minute you land at the airport and that visa stamp is on your passport, that's it. All rights accorded to you. Believe me, it works almost like magic, So I came in as a student eventually. When they rejected me using the online system, I forgot about that online system. So I applied again. That means more money, okay? Because you pay for the visa application. So it means more visa application. I don't know whether it's, I think it's 16,000 Kenya shillings, something like that. So I applied directly. I put my company information, I put the children's school information, I put title deed, I put even car logbook, I put everything there. I put my company brochures there, my advertising company brochures there. I put my coaching business information there. I put everything. In fact, when I went to the visa place, there's a place that helps people process their visas. It's on Riverside Drive. I'll find the information. And they said to me, ma'am, you don't need all this. You see, the list we have for you to apply is only this. This is what goes into the DHL envelope, which you pay for separately. By the way, you pay, I think, 8,000 shillings for the DHL envelope to get your envelope from Riverside to the Canadian High Commission. Don't ask. Yeah. Just understand that the whole immigration process is like an industry. Everybody's making money out of it. Just do what you need to do. Don't think about it. Just focus on your goal. So they said, we only have this list, and it's only these items that are required. I said, hey, I am appealing, okay? And they rejected me without any good reason. So you're going to put all these documents in there, and my company catalog was this thick. I said, if it's too heavy, tell me, I'll pay twice. But all these things are going in there. Do we have a problem? No, ma'am, it's okay. Sometimes you have to be forceful to get things through. So when you're told no, insist in some ways, okay? Don't just say no. Don't just take the no. So they put it in there. The next thing I knew, so it takes 4 weeks for that visa to come through. I hope you're listening to this, because you have to plan. There's a process here. You have to plan with the time. It's not something that you decide today, I want to go, and then you get a visa tomorrow and you're off. No, that's not how it works. Because it's a process, you have to plan in advance. Okay, this is where now immigration consultants come in to help you understand how to plan, what to do, when. Okay, because they know the process. And then they look at your documentation and they decide, okay, because you don't have this, apply for this first, let that come in, get this done. It also helps you plan on the money side, okay, because there is some money to be spent here. It's an investment you're making. So you want to work with somebody who has already done this so that they can help you go step by step in a way that makes it financially feasible for you, and observes the time and has your documentation correct. Because even with the application, if you get it wrong and you're rejected for whatever reason, okay, you have to apply again. That means more time. And when you're rejected, you cannot apply immediately. I think it takes 3 months before you can apply again. So you want to get it right first time, all right? Now, we worked with the immigration lawyer for the express entry process. When that didn't work out, and then we started to look for the provincial nomination. They were not very keen on that. They want young people who can get on the express entry first time. They want to earn their $2,000 and finish. They don't want long stories of getting into provincial nomination. It takes a bit longer. So they didn't want to do that. So we had to do the provincial nomination directly. It's a lot of work, okay? Paperwork, more paperwork. If you have a pension plan, if you have life insurance, whatever other assets you have, please keep all that documentation, because you're going to need to, at some point, write what your statement of worth is. They want to know how much are you worth as a person. All that you need to document. Please keep all your documentation properly, all right? And stay outside of trouble with the law. Don't have your fingerprints taken on anything that is going to affect you getting a proper police report. If you've stayed in other countries other than Kenya for more than 6 months, you're going to have to get an Interpol police report. Okay, you're going to have to get an Interpol report. So, factor that in. Interpol report requires you to take your fingerprints in Kenya and then send it to them, and they will give you the report. They're pretty efficient that way. So, when I decided to come on the student pathway, they rejected me. I appealed, and then they gave me the visa. 4 weeks later, it takes 4 weeks. So they just sent me the visa. No explanation as to why they rejected me. And it's frustrating when something like that happens, but you just keep moving. By the way, when they rejected me, I cried for about 2 hours, and then I decided, no, you're not going to reject me. I've traveled all over the world. You're going to accept me. Okay, that's when I decided to appeal. So if you're rejected, please know that it can be part of the process. Appeal. Okay, when you appeal, they know, okay, this one is serious. They will do it. Okay, all right. You come in. At the airport, here's what happens. The immigration person at the airport will interview you. It's a very clean, clear, friendly process. It's the most friendly place I have been to. Okay, most friendly place I've been to. You don't see police hanging around like the US. No, they're not intimidating with their guns and all those things all over the place, looking like you're a criminal until you prove yourself innocent. No, here you don't see the police. There are systems. Everything is automated. You come in, you go to the area, a holding area where you get the interview done, and it's very quick, very quick. Believe me, it's very quick. The guys are very. The immigration people are very friendly. They'll ask you a few questions. They will give you information on how to get work if you're coming in as a student. They'll give you all the resources, all the links and everything. And then they'll let you know they're giving you 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week, but usually it's 20 hours a week to students. And they welcome you to Canada. That interview takes 5 minutes and you get your visa and you're in. So I got in on the 7th of July and I went into a relative's house in St. John, New Brunswick, arrived at about 1 o'clock in the morning. The next morning, I got up. People were going to work, obviously. So you're here in this new city. They said, okay, we're going to work. We're going to clock in and come back and get you at 9 o'clock, show you the city, and then we have to go back to work. Okay, so 9 o'clock, I'm ready. I'm taken to the city. All right, here's the city. This is the market. That's the mall. It's a smaller city. That's the mall. Find your way. So I go in, ask around, go here, find a bank, open an account. Where do I get a phone? Oh, you have to go to this other place. Go there. How do I get a bus stop? Oh, there is a bus stop. You look at the bus stop. It's a tiny little place. Where is it? There. There were the people. Those many people were 3 people. When you're in Kenya, you're told there's a bus stop, and you're told there are many people. You're expecting to see several people at the bus stop. Here, when they say there are many people, there were 3 people at the bus stop. Okay, yeah, that's the bus stop. So I go to the bus stop, wait for the bus. Okay, it takes me to this place. Everything is very quick. When you come in as a student, everything opens up to you. As a student, the first thing I did was open an account. I go to a bank. I say I'm a student. I show them the acceptance letter. I show them my visa. The account is opened immediately. Immediately, you get a $1,000 credit card. As a student, it happens instantly. Within 2 hours of doing all my documentation, I left with my bank account open, $1,000 credit card, straight up, nothing else. Because you see, most of North America and Europe works on a credit system, okay? So in Kenya, we don't do that. You can borrow a loan here, default, borrow a loan there, default. By the way, I did those. Borrow a loan here, default, borrow a loan there, default. Don't send people after me, okay? So here, they will find you wherever you are. And if your credit is not great, you don't get anything else. And if you do, you get it at a very high percentage, okay? So they know that you're not going to mess up that, because it messes up everything in your life, from buying a house to buying a car to anything, okay? So they give you a card immediately. And that's how people get into trouble. If you're not disciplined, the first thing you do is start spending without realizing that, hey, this is when you need to pay back. And credit card debt is very expensive. It's 19% most of the time. So they give you that, but it does help because there's a lot of expenses you need to take care of. And sometimes you will not have enough money. In fact, most of the time you will not have enough money, all right? So that credit card really helps. But having a credit card helps you start building that credit, okay? It helps you build that credit, and it's based on credit cards. So if you're averse to credit cards, this is going to be a very difficult place for you. Here, having credit means you're a good citizen. I know it's very different from ours. Having credit means you're a good citizen. So you need that credit card. So they give it to you. Getting a phone, easy. Getting the paperwork, the SIN number is like your identifier, easy. In that one day, I finished the bank account. I got my phone line. I got my SIN number, and I was done. So now I could now go to the city where I was going to live. It was an hour away, and find a house and start getting settled. And everything is done online. I found a house online. By the time I was going to that city to see the house, I'd agreed on which one it is, 2, 3 of them that I was going to see. The agent meets you there. Here, everything works on GPS. So you put a GPS in a car. I had a rented car. Because it's very hard to get around without a car in the small cities, because the bus systems don't work very efficiently. There are fewer people, okay? So there are fewer buses. It means if you're going somewhere, you have to take a longer time You have to plan for longer periods. They're not very frequent. There are few people in Canada. It's 40 million people. It's the same square kilometer as the US. So it's a big country with few people. So in the smaller cities, you find that the busing system is not as efficient. It helps if you have a car. If you don't have a car, you will use the bus, but it takes you longer to get to places because the schedules are not that frequent. Okay, at least in New Brunswick, it's not. So I'm going to leave it at that. As a student, first and foremost, you have to have tuition for a year. You have to have it in an account, and you have to have it in that account at least 3 months before you apply for the visa. Okay, so that it doesn't look like you just borrowed money for the purpose of applying for the visa. You have to have the acceptance. Acceptance is the easier part. Okay. First, I got rejected by one university, then I applied to the next one. They accepted me. So be ready for rejection, and then you try again. And the process of rejection means that you have tried, spent a lot of time, then you try again. If you easily get discouraged, this is not a process for you. Now, I've talked a lot. I'm thirsty. I'm going to wait for your questions if you have any, and we'll take it from here. Talk to me. Otherwise, it's an hour, exactly 1 hour, and let me know. Hello, hello. No questions? Okay. I guess I'll talk to you some other time. Okay. So if you have subscribed just now, it takes 5 minutes for you to be able to send a message. Yeah. You can't subscribe now and send a message now. So you should have subscribed already for more than 5 minutes. Okay. Do you want me to wait around? Oh, Brenda is typing something. Let's see what Brenda is saying. Well, if we don't have any questions or we hadn't subscribed and therefore we cannot send our answers, I'm going to let you go for now, and I will come back and find questions and we can organize another live to answer those questions. Okay. Oh, Brenda, you're also not able to comment on the channel. I wonder why. Okay. All right, people, that's it for now. Thanks.